The Girl with the Flaxen Hair by Claude Debussy. In the year 1909, Claude Debussy was at a pivotal point in both his personal life and his musical career. He had been suffering from daily bleeding, which was the beginning sign and early symptom of the cancer that would later kill him in March of 1918. Despite the onset of his sickness, however, he accepted an invitation to become a member of the advisory board of the Conservatoire. It was during his time here in the year 1909 that he wrote his work titled The Girl with the Flaxen Hair. It was published in the first volume of Preludes in April of 1910. The Girl with the Flaxen Hair, inspired by a poem written by the French poet Leconte de Lisle, soon became the most recorded of all his preludes. Just like his other works, The Girl with the Flaxen Hair is an impressionistic piece, meaning it focuses on internal suggestion, moods, and feelings. Being an impressionistic piece, The Girl with the Flaxen Hair has a very clear mood that creates a significant amount of imagery and allows for a lot of personal interpretation. The piece moves at a very slow tempo, being only 39 measures long, but still having an average performance time of approximately 2.5 minutes. This slow tempo, along with the lilting motion and calming feeling of the melody, is what strongly contributes to the mood of this piece. Let's first take a look at the big picture. The Girl with the Flaxen Hair is written in a key that remains relatively constant throughout the piece. The primary key of this piece is G-flat major. However, there are instances where chords outside of the key lead certain beats and phrases to briefly modulate into a different key. For example, measures 5 and 6 outline several different chords other than that of G-flat major. They focus primarily on D-flat major and E-flat minor. Now let's move into some of the fine point specifics. As we discussed earlier, the piece is written in G-flat major. The main theme and melodic content outline the key on a G-flat major chord. Thus, the melodic theme is based on the 1 chord. As you can see here, the main theme and melody of the piece starts at a high point, then slowly falls in thirds, moving back up in the exact same pattern. This structure of melodic line creates a wave-like motion that contributes to the imagery intended for this piece. This is the main melodic theme that occurs at various times throughout the duration of The Girl with the Flaxen Hair. There are, of course, several different variations that take place as the melody is repeated in each new section, but the same primary tune and intervallic relationship remains constant throughout each new section of the piece. The melodic theme first presents itself in measures 1 through 3 of the piece. This melody in measures 1 through 3, added to measures 4 through 7, come together to create the 7-measure A section of the piece. Immediately following the A section is the A prime section. As you can see, the melodic line in this new section is very similar to the opening measures. However, there are some distinct differences in the left-hand part, as well as in the added chords in the right hand. In the opening A section, the melody is not supported by the left hand, and as the melodic line alone is being played. However, as the piece transitions into the A section, the left hand supports the melody with dissonant whole-tone scale chords that alternate in a form of chromaticism. In the second measure of the A prime section, the melody is this time being supported in the right hand with descending chords on B flat and A flat. These descending chords transition into the phrase extension of the A prime section. The phrase extension occurs due to the fact that there is no ending cadence to the A prime section. Rather, the phrase is extended with new musical content as a transition into the next section of the piece. Following the A prime section is the B section of the piece. This section is composed of entirely new musical content. Debussy wrote it very differently from both the A and A prime section, and that it is not a variation of the main melodic theme that reappears so frequently throughout the duration of the piece. The B section stands out because rather than moving primarily in thirds as the 2 other sections, it is composed almost entirely of a stepwise melody in the right hand. The left hand keeps a constant intervallic relationship throughout the B section, being written entirely in fourths. The parts written together with an unusual amount of parallel motion. An interesting technique Debussy uses when writing this section of the piece is his use of pandiatonicism. Let's look into what this means. Beginning in measure 14, the main key area switches from G-flat major to E-flat minor. With the new key in mind, we evaluate the chords and can see that they don't follow the typical formula of 1 to 4 to 5. Instead, the chord progression follows a 1 to 2 back to 1 pattern, which is very unusual. The chords are diatonic, but push the boundaries in what was considered normal writing at the time. Debussy again uses heavy amounts of chromaticism as we move into the climax of the piece in measures 20 through 21. As the melody rises into the high point, the abundant amount of accidentals throughout the ascending melody line causes the piece to briefly modulate into the key of E-flat. As the melody continues to rise, the dynamics also get louder, which leads directly into the climax of the piece. The climax occurs in measures 21 through 23, where there are 4 different chords outside of G-flat major that the piece modulates into. The chord progression at the height of the piece goes as follows: B to D-flat to E-flat to A-flat. Each of these chords, though only played briefly, creates a great sense of modulation, adding drama and interest to the height of the piece. Following the height of the piece, Debussy moves into an entirely new section in measures 24 through 26. This C section of the piece is again written entirely in parallel motion. The intervallic relationship between each of the chords is composed of perfect fourths and fifths all the way through. What is interesting about this section is that the melody is almost a restatement of the main theme, but it is written in a different rhythm with different notes. However, the main melody can be heard ever so slightly as it hides behind all of the new variations of this section. Remember the main melody we looked at a few minutes ago? It's back. Immediately following the C section, the A prime section is restated with slight variation in measure 28. The main melodic theme is played again, this time an octave higher. This restatement of the A prime is more closely related to the content in the very beginning measures of the piece. This is due to the fact that as the melody is played through in measures 28 through 30, there is very little support in the left hand. The focus is almost entirely on the melody being played in the right hand, as it was in measures 1 through 3. This A prime section moves directly into the B prime section in measures 33 and 34. The B prime section starts out exactly the same as the B section in measure 33, using the same chords and same fourths. However, as the phrase continues into measure 34, the parallel pandiatonic pattern continues. There is a phrase extension in measure 35 that consists of the same intervallic pattern as the B and B prime section, being made up of fourths. This phrase extension concludes the B section that leads the piece into the final cadence. Although a short piece of music, consisting of only 39 measures, there is still so much to discover in The Girl with the Flaxen Hair. The melodic shape and structure combine with fascinating characteristics of modulation and chromaticism to create a calm, almost dreamlike mood. The mood and imagery created in this piece are what classify it as an impressionistic piece of music. Each time this song is performed, a different take or interpretation may be executed, allowing for a large amount of personal expression and connection to the piece of music. It is no wonder that as musicians are able to feel this connection with this piece of music, The Girl with the Flaxen Hair has become one of Debussy's most well-known, most recorded, and most performed preludes.